There was a plan to steal the state of Florida in the most recent election, and that plan failed. That plan failed because good people on the ground did what was necessary to stop it. In today's video, I'm going to finally give you the details of that plan and show you what happened, show you who was responsible, and how we did it. Back in 2018, Governor Rick Scott had reached his term limit. We were going to have a new governor one way or the other. Now, there was no big surprise on the Republican side, with Ron DeSantis winning the primary and standing up as their representative. However, on the Democrat side, there was a huge shockwave, and this was what set off alarm bells across the state, and people started talking about this. There hadn't been a Democrat governor in the state of Florida for a very long time. And this gentleman on the right, Mr. Gillum, wasn't even supposed to be on the radar. He wasn't even in the top 3 polling in the Democrat primary. And he came out of nowhere to win it, and win it handily. People had to start talking about this, or something was going to happen. Now, on YouTube, you have to read the room. You have to understand that I can say certain things in a certain way, but I can't say other things at certain times. So to get messages through, sometimes you guys have to read between the lines. And it was a horse race. Governor DeSantis barely won. He barely won, and because of channels like mine standing up and warning about this, the President of the United States, Donald Trump himself, came here to stump on behalf of Ron DeSantis twice in the last month before the voting. Unplanned stops, by the way. This is how close it was. This is how close it was. 30,000 votes. Ish. 49.59 to 49.19. And this is a big deal because this guy on the right, now this was before all of the videos and the images of him being disgraced in the hotel room and all that. The only thing they had on this guy, Gillum, was taking a ticket to a play called Hamilton inappropriately. That was all they had. So he shouldn't even have been on the radar. And I have that right here. This is Ballotpedia. I'll give you these links. This goes back to 2018. Heading into the 2018 election, a Democrat hadn't held the governor's office in Florida since '99. Governor Rick Scott was prevented by term limits from seeking re-election in 2018. And election forecasters rated the general election as a toss-up. 5 Democratic candidates argued they were the best suited to represent the party in November. Most polling showed former U.S. Representative Gwen Graham and former Miami Beach Mayor Philip Levine leading the field. Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum won the August 28 primary. Ron DeSantis barely defeated Gillum in the general election. Now listen to this. Gillum touted his support for single-payer health care and highlighted that, unlike the other candidates, he did not have personal or family wealth to fund his campaign. Democratic donors George Soros, Tom Steyer, Bernie Sanders, and Democracy for America endorsed him. He had also had support from satellite groups, Steyer's Next Gen America, Collective Super PAC, and a coalition of grassroots progressive organizations announced nearly $7 million in spending on his behalf. Now, you would think, well, wait a minute, wouldn't it just have suited the Democrats to have any old Democrat be governor? Why not Graham? Gwen Graham, daughter of former Florida governor and U.S. Senator Bob Graham, Democrat. Why wouldn't they have supported her? She was for abortion, women's issues, Medicaid in Florida, tightening gun regulations. Why him? She was even endorsed by Steny Hoyer, Kirsten Gillibrand, and John Lewis. And then there was this guy, Philip Levine. Cruise Line Media Company, self-funded, nearly $22 million as of mid-August, with most going into television advertising. And once again, he was anti-gun. And he was running basically on taking care of the environment, which is kind of a bipartisan thing down here. And then there was real estate investor Jeff Green. All these guys were Democrats. Why him so particularly? Why him so particularly? And here was the polling. Right here. I'll give you this link too. Now in yellow, over here on the left-hand side, pardon me, in purple is the polling agency. In yellow is who is leading. Andrew Gillum is this far left column here. Okay? The only place where Gillum was winning was with his own internal polling. Everywhere else they had Gwen Graham, St. Pete, Florida Atlantic University, St. Pete Polls, Public Policy Polling, ALG Research, Mason-Dixon Polling. Nobody. And over here we have all these others were undecided, and then they had Philip Levine. He wasn't supposed to win. He wasn't supposed to win. Here's even the New York Times talking about this. New York Times poll shows Andrew Gillum lead, narrow path for Ron DeSantis. You see, this is what they were trying to do. They were trying to put somebody in place that would allow the cheat. Somebody they had on the inside to do this. That's who this guy was. And they dumped tens of millions of dollars into this race to try to get their guy into a position of power in the state so that they could steal Florida, like they did in other states. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't disagree with you. I was probably the first channel on YouTube to actually show real numbers, and those videos are still up, proving that something was afoot. I just got to the point where I realized, because we have 50 state elections and 50 different standards, and each state having the ability to determine for itself what it wants a legal vote to be, there's nothing we can do now. The time to stop this, like in Florida, was back in 2018 and earlier dates. You see, this is how you win. It starts locally. That this all comes back to libertarianism is a shock to me, actually, because that's one of the tenets of libertarianism, is that local government is the most powerful government, and this has now been proven to be true. Because we took care of our local governor's race against huge out-of-state odds. We were able to deliver Florida honestly and fairly for the president by nearly 400,000 votes. It wasn't even close. Florida, for the first time in many elections, wasn't even close. But the governor's race was. The governor's race was very close, and had this channel not stood up and started warning and started speaking and started, ringing the bell saying, hey, who is this guy? Where did he come from? Why is he now their nominee when he wasn't even top 3 in their polling, when there was only 5 people being polled? People looked into it. People got involved. People said, wait a minute, hold on. What's the mission behind this guy? And I truly believe it made it all the way to the office of the president. Because twice, after my videos, twice, the president made unscheduled campaign stops in Florida for Governor DeSantis. Now, was I the only voice he was listening to? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But you also have to read the room on the platform. And at that time, I had to say things in a certain way. And had they not been said in that way, nobody would have seen the video. Nobody sees the video, maybe nobody hears. So when you hear me say things and you see me go about things a certain way on this platform, understand you have to read the room. Read between the lines. Florida is a red state, and it's going to be for a very long time because people locally on the ground get the job done. And like I said, I will give you all of these links to back up what I'm saying. This is the Wikipedia for the governor's race. This is Ballotpedia talking about the Democratic primary, Gwen Graham, Philip Levine, the people that were supposed to be running, who all of a sudden got shoved to the side. Even though polling had them leading, people wanted them. All of a sudden, where did this guy come from? And like I said, this was all before the disgraced video. This was all before any of the things that you've seen recently. That hadn't come out yet. I don't even know if the video had actually been taped yet at that time. This was way back in 2018, over 2 years ago. The only thing they had on this guy at that time that they ran out was that he took apparently a ticket to Hamilton, a play, inappropriately, which, given the state of politics in America these days, is really probably not that big of a deal. It was a ticket to a play. That's all they had at the time. Now, of course, as we know, things have come out since about Mr. Gillum, but none of that was in play during the election process. And it was razor thin. 32,000 and change. 32,000 votes in a race that had 8.1 million people vote. And like I said, this guy came out of nowhere. He came absolutely out of nowhere. Why? Why him? What was his mission? What was his job? I think we know now. I think we know. And I'll leave it there. Like, share, subscribe.